Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to TV Skywriter. This is very unprofessional. Just remembered, I did not turn off my cell phone. It would be horrible if it went off during the interview. We'll do that real fast. Greetings. Welcome, everybody. We're in Durham, North Carolina, and we're doing TV Skywriter. That's where I introduce you to really notable people all over the country. Today, obviously, my guest is right next to me here in Durham, North Carolina, Fay Mitchell. Welcome to the show.
It's such a delight to be here.
Happy to have you. Now, I know you in a different, I saw you Saturday at Duke Homestead. That's one of our state historic sites. And Fay does some work in that area. So I was actually there as a vendor selling my toys and whatnot. So I was really surprised when he told me that you are also a filmmaker.
I have always wanted to be a filmmaker and do documentary work. And so I thought, this is a time, there's an interesting topic, you're accessible to find people to talk about. So don't put it off. And I just have had such a wonderful adventure developing this documentary.
I want to do that too. I mean, I'm going to have one of those Indiegogo campaigns one of these days to have I'm trying to morph my Durham Skywriter into a combination video newspaper sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with your newspaper. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm actually working on an Indiegogo campaign. It's about to wind down. It's going kind of slow, so everyone needs to Google Indiegogo Film and Artistry and Athletics and make a contribution. Okay, so it's Indiegogo, and it's called Artistry and Athletics. Let's see if I can hold up to the camera. Bam, there it is. Artistry and Athletics. I've never seen toe shoes and a basketball in the same picture. So tell me about this documentary. Sure thing. So many people realize that dancers are athletes, but then there are a lot of people who don't. But if you think about it,
they have to be in incredible shape.
They have the great physical shape. They have the skills that athletes want. They're mobile. They're strong. They have endurance. They have flexibility. I mean, athletes would be insane not to want to do this. So of course they're athletes. It's just that they are athletes who choose to live artistically. Which is a different layer on it. And it's not about competition. It's about communication. So it's a wonderful way to examine how we relate to each of these disciplines.
So did you study ballet? What even gave you this idea?
Well, I've been a sports and arts fan really most of my life. My father was just, and my brother always had a game on. I saw the NBA, baseball, whatever season it was. And then there were more seasons were much more defined then. They all kind of run into each other now.
I don't even pay attention.
Well, right now we have baseball and basketball going on simultaneously.
They should have been done by now.
Yeah, basketball should have been over, but they're going into June. But things have changed. So, and then I just like to watch arts whenever I was watching it on TV. And I remember the first time I saw ballet dancers on the Ed Sullivan Show. This is really dating myself.
Sullivan.
And I was just fascinated. And my mom was teasing, you can't do that. Well, I didn't realize, no, I can't do that. You don't just get up and dance in ballet.
No.
But it was just, they've been things I've always been interested in. And it struck me that people are really, really very passionate and very excited about their sports. But dancers don't get quite the love and the respect when they're working just as hard just as long to do what they do as the athletes are. And they both have relatively short career spans, maybe by their third or fourth. Most of them athletes usually tend to be beat up, but then their skills begin to diminish and they may have had injuries and it's just a different kind of thing.
The thing about dancers though, maybe you should tell me, they don't suffer injuries like other athletes.
They don't suffer injuries from direct contact, but they suffer injuries from use. Working on these things, and they get the same kinds of injuries. And I talked to Virginia Johnson, who is the artistic director of the Dance Theater of Harlem. And she says one of the things that has been most wonderful to them is the study of sports athletics and sports medicine, because the sports and medicine people treat them. And she talks about the gentleman might get strains in their shoulders and from lifting these women over their head all the time.
And actually, if you're a ballet, I mean, I don't know that much about ballet, but I can't imagine if you're hurt, you can't just sit out the next dance.
Yeah, you got to keep performing, So, but someone that has been a really wonderful showing the transition is Misty Copeland. You may remember she is in the Under Armour commercial.
I know the name.
She's a ballerina, and in this commercial, she says they tell her you have the wrong body for ballet. Your torso.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, okay.
So she actually danced and was really very seriously injured. She was in Swan Lake, and she was the first African American ballerina to dance the dual role of Ophelia and Odette. So she did not want to let people down, and she was in this excruciating pain.
And she danced
anyway. And after, I think she just did a couple of performances. At least she saw the daughter.
Wow.
Her thigh bones was fractured in 2 places. It was fractured in 2 places.
How can you dance with broken bones?
Well, she did. Well, she felt that pressure to do it. And so ballet dancers, other dancers, feel pressure to perform as well.
Gee.
And there's always, as you know, someone waiting in the wings.
Oh, yeah.
So
the understudy. I guess they have understudies.
Yes,
I don't know.
They do. And it is so, you spend so many years in the corps de ballet before you get to be a soloist, a principal dancer, a prima donna. I mean, particularly with the athletes now, some of them are so talented, they just burst on the scene. It seems they're getting younger and younger. But again, their career spans are pretty short. But you just can't burst out of high school and go into the top corps of ballet or other dance companies.
I would suppose, though, that if you're wanting to be a ballet dancer, that you do start probably around age 5. I can't imagine starting out at 12.
Typically, they start about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
She started late at 13, 14. That is extraordinary.
Really?
That is, it is really, she just happened to be that athletic that she could do it. But you see how it requires many, many years of training and conditioning to be in either one of these kinds of things.
And I suppose also they have a very rabid core of fans.
There are just
both ballet and the other.
What's
sports.
Different is the numbers. There are people. I mean, one of the people I talked to was John Skipper, and if you go to some of these huge stadiums, they see 20,000, 80 people, and you're talking about Ohio State, some of the Big Ten schools. I mean, and he said, I'm really excited. He talked about going to ballet performances when he was in the city. He said, maybe you'll have 3,000 or 4,000. You can have 60,000 rabid fans showing at a ballet dance. I don't think so. And of course, he has. I asked him, well, how many stations do you have to present the sports? He said, at ESPN we have 8 channels, and that's not enough. And
ESPN has 8 channels.
There were 8 ESPN channels.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Now, when I first moved here to Durham, I actually was interested at the particular time in international soccer, but I think that was a Fox Sports. So I'm trying to say is, we have more than ESPN because apparently there's
everybody.
Fox
CBS Sports, Fox Sports.
I guess there's others
Sports.
too.
Yes, a lot of them have their own sports networks as well.
But no ballet network.
There's not a ballet network. There's not. And one of the things that I talked with, one of the people I talked with who was really interested in this topic is I'm having a total mental break. She's in the UNC Kingdom Business School for sports engagement.
Okay.
And one of the things she talked about is to love our sports because there's tremendous marketing of these athletes and they build on the competitions and you have these great series and this whole production whatever walk out. She says, we don't have fan clubs for dancers.
Yeah.
We don't have
and
jerseys.
Actually, when it comes to sports, if you want to be close to your dad, sometimes that's the only way to do it, or one of the, not the only way, but one of the few times that you'll have time with your dad. Sometimes if he's really busy, is when he's watching sports.
That's true.
So I did become a pretty good sports fan. And it's funny. I mean, after my dad died, I just totally lost interest. I thought I was a real sports fan. Then I realized after my dad and my brother died, I realized, I guess, plus, I guess sometimes you just grow out of it.
I still like sports.
Life,
I mean, I'm not that bad, but I do watch some of the NBA games. I was watching the NBA game last night and saw Stephon Curry as he took that spill that everyone was worried about. He's the most valuable player in the NBA. Okay, he is in the Golden State Warriors. They're planning into the playoffs right now, but he is going to come back. They were really worried that he would have been hurt. Okay, so I do watch. I'm not as devoted. I came to UNC Chapel Hill where there's this rabid sports around the basketball team, and so I got indoctrinated into that great system many years ago. Okay. So I still keep my ties to some sports, but I don't have as many professional sports. I get a lot more to the college teams, but they are sports driven too. But again, they have this whole network of people to keep them visible before you, whereas dance companies and dancers really don't have that same structure and those same resources.
Now, do you look at, in your documentary, the fact that when it comes to ballet, many of the major or even minor cities have their own ballet groups, like their own symphonies, their own ballet.
We do talk about that.
Do you talk about that as well?
We talk about that a little bit.
It's kind of like the local team, you know.
It is. And there are some, and I talk about, one of the people I talk with is Lynn Swann, who is a dancer at the North Carolina School of the Arts. And he was talking about this big perception of athletes and jocks generally. He said, well, you know, and I was on, and I thought that was one of my favorite lines because
isn't it true? I don't know if they still do it, but on TV every now and then they would talk about football players, and I think basketball players too, taking ballet in order to learn more control.
Absolutely.
And also, I don't know if it's strength. I don't know what it is they're trying to learn. Well, I heard it was like to gain more control, physical control.
Well, it gives you the ability to cut on a dime. It's really wonderful if you're a football player. They're reaching for you, you're not there. Because you shifted directions, you've gone the other way. One of the greatest receivers of all times was Lynn Swann, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. His mom had him in dance classes as a youth. He said he felt more at home, more comfortable on the dance floor than he did on the football field for a number of years. He danced with the Twilight Art Company. He was on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood Dancing. Yeah. And so even now there's this big, I mean, you think he was a receiver, and receivers seem to be the lighter white guys floating through there catching the ball. But the linemen, big tough guys. There is an offensive lineman who also happens to play now for the Steelers. His name is Steve McClendon. He has some kind of injury. He did some kind of ballet at Georgia when he was in college. And then he got injured, and he started taking ballet, and he found that it helped him stay able. He did a lot of work on body strength because he's a big, tough lineman. But in order to keep that body in shape, you got to be able to hold yourself up. And he's still taking ballet lessons. And he weighs 320 pounds. Whoa. You know, so it's people who are smart realize there are a lot of things to be gained from taking dance and ballet lessons.
So in your documentary, do you follow different dancers and athletes, or do you just interview different ones?
It's mostly interviews.
Are you pitting one against the other?
No, it's not. It's just an examination of what each requires and what each one has to offer. And so I have done a lot of interviews with, I think I mentioned Capoeira, which is a form of Afro-Caribbean Brazilian dance.
Oh, Capoeira, that was started in slavery days. So, and they very often gained their freedom. They would gather in a circle, and the guys around the edge would play the musical instruments, the beating bar and whatnot. And when the white guys would say, "Hey, what are you guys doing over there?" They say, "Oh, we're just dancing," you know. But they were actually practicing how to gain their freedom through, let's just say they took care of, some masters got taken care of, so to speak, with Capoeira as they gained their freedom. Well, that's a very hip.
And it looks like dance, but
it is dance.
But it's also
music.
It is also fighting. So again, you get this whole thing of artistry, the dance that it is. And
if you guys have not seen Capoeira, check it out. Go on YouTube, because it's one of my favorite. I'm just going to call it a spectacle, because I don't know if it's a sport or a dance.
It's both. It's both.
But it's to music, but it's dancing, and you'll recognize a lot of breakdance moves. And this is way before breakdancing. Like I said, it started in the slavery days.
Exactly.
It is so hip.
So
so you have that in your documentary?
I talked to this professor at Duke who is an anthropologist, actually, a cultural anthropologist, but she also teaches Capoeira.
Cool.
And she teaches a class at Duke, but she studies and we talk about some of the cultural norms about how people have the attitudes. Like for a long time, dance was considered very feminine, and then she talks about demonstration and how it's not, and she talks about how a lot of us invest ourselves in a team, and we live vicariously through them.
I know. So we like they're out.
Yeah, exactly. But people really say we. That's true. You know, so there are a lot of things that I look at beyond just the athleticism and the artistry, but our whole attitudes and the whole way we came to be where we are. We might be missing something, because the people who are big sports fans, dance fans are also very passionate, but they may be missing out on a chance to experience other kinds of passion.
Maybe the ballet guys should watch sports with the sports guys and vice versa and see what they have in common.
And it will build, again, it will build. And I was doing this search on this topic. I was doing a search on this topic, and interestingly enough, there's a woman who's written a blog about she had taught ballet for non-majors at Caroline over in Chapel Hill. And she noticed all these guys in her class. She didn't think about it. It's not my God, I must be just the greatest teacher, because all these people would be staring in the windows at her class. Well, she found out these guys were the men's basketball team. And the coach, Dean Smith, who was coaching, this was back when King Rice had sent his guys to take ballet. He was always ahead of his time. It's a good thing. Dads, it's okay for your sons to take ballet or other forms of dance.
There you go. Now, in putting together this documentary, did you have to, I know I took like an introductory course at Center for Documentary Studies, kind of like, not a course, just one day introductory kind of class sort of thing. And they're talking about things like storyboards, and that's what, did you have to like draw it out?
Well, I had myself an outline of what I wanted to do, but it's a little difficult to do a storyboard documentary because you're not sure about what you're going to get. You know what you want, but it's not a script. I mean,
so when you do a documentary, you don't know where it's going to go at all.
Well, you have an idea, but often it changes once you get into it. So, because I mean, I found out things I had no idea was there. I had not ever understood this idea of how the Capoeira. That was something I discovered in the course of doing the film, and this whole thing about how the marketing of it and the promotion of it, which is really done very intensely in sports, but not nearly as intensely in dance. I mean, they don't build a cult of personality, which is what they do in sports. So they're all
through the years, there have been certain dancers who become like world famous. But you're right.
There are. I mean,
the guy like Nuria, there's only a few I can even mention.
Yeah, but people can rattle off 20 sports figures in no time.
Yeah.
So it is. I found the things.
Now, why do you ballet dancers like Rudolph or these different people? Why do you think they become famous and the rest don't?
They were doing different kinds of things with the dance. Baryshnikov was a Russian defector, and he was just so tremendously talented. And because he was a Russian defector, that gave him a lot of attention. And then he demonstrated that he was worthy of it by his abilities. And then hanging out the lane and all this kind of thing either.
Okay.
So
he did make movies. And stuff.
Yeah, and he was last time.
He did make a movie with the black dancer.
Gregory Hines. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
and he was last time I saw him. It was on Sex and the City with Sally Jesse Parker. He was her love interest.
What?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I happened to stumble by it a couple of times. So again, it was like cult of personality.
Okay.
So you never know quite what you're going to stumble into when you're doing documentary. And so classes I have completed the certificate program in documentary arts at the Center for Documentary Studies. I was a journalist for years before. I worked at WNC Video as a public affairs producer for years. So I've always been a communications person, and I always want. I'm doing public relations for a state agency, and it's really interesting the work I get to do. But really, reporting and documentary are all my passion. So it's just time to get to it. So call to my Indiegogo campaign and help me finish this.
So Indiegogo, then you go to Artistry and Athletics.
Yes.
Fay Mitchell.
Yes.
So I'm more curious now about putting together the documentary. So you don't know where it's going to necessarily lead you. So you're just videotaping things.
Well, I always have a set of questions.
How do you know how to edit it?
Well, I have a set of questions that I go, and sometimes other things pop up in the course of the conversation. I try to give them an idea of what I might want to ask. And then you go back and I always have to listen and log all my tape so I know everything that they've said.
Oh, what do you mean logging?
Just writing it down. Just writing it.
Everything that was said or everything
that was said.
Wow.
So you end up with pages and pages. Oh, it takes forever. I mean, people who have really budgets hire other people to do that, but I have to do it all myself.
That's good because
then you get to read them, and you sometimes in the moment you don't really hear everything that's said. So when you have to go back and listen to it and write it, it gives you a chance to really reflect on what was said and to see linkages and to see where things connect.
Oh, okay.
So that will help you with creating your script.
So you have a day of filming, and then you log it, and then does that tell you what to film the next time? Because
no, I know.
Because if something happens that you didn't expect, then that might take you on another.
It could
trip somewhere else.
It could. It could.
So do you have to make plans and make? I know sometimes like photographers will say, "I want to get this shot and that shot and that shot."
Well, I do because I want to address our dancers, athletes. Why do we feel the way we feel about them, but not so much about sports?
Okay.
What are the similarities? So I have a core group of questions that I want to make sure that I get certain people to answer. Some of them I might want to address each one.
So are you talking to fans and
I'm talking
dancers and athletes?
So the people that I have interviewed, I've interviewed Lynn Swann as a dancer who is with the UNC School of the Arts.
Okay.
I've interviewed Frank DeFord, who is a sports commentator. He actually was the dean of the sports writers. He's now pretty much retired and sports writer emeritus, but he won so many awards, and he still does commentaries on National Public Radio.
No, I hear him.
And the reason I like him is because he thinks beyond sports. He thinks culture. He thinks in the bigger picture. I interviewed Virginia Johnson, who is artistic director of the Dance Theater of Harlem, who also was a dancer, but she's leading the company. And one of the reasons I was interested in them is that she's the director of a Black ballet company, which is sort of an odd twist. People don't often think of Black dancers and ballet at the same time. I interviewed Capoeira and Company, who's a modern dance company. They were at their dance festival. And I interviewed a runner at NC Central, Jonathan Williams was his name. And I interviewed Corey Holiday, who is associate director of UNC Sports, but his area is football. He was a professional football player. He played with Lynn Swann. He was a receiver with the guy who took dance all the way through high school and college, and he talked about being a dancer. And he talked about his conversations with Lynn Swann about dance. And so, and I have this one of this group called Cirque du Soleil, which is very similar to Cirque du Symphony. I mean, Cirque du Symphony. And
they like Cirque.
But they perform with symphony orchestras, so they have music in their performance. But what they do is both art and sport. It's gymnastics, it's dance, it's aerialists. It's just wonderful. So now I'm going to get some illustrative footage of people performing these sports. So that is one of the things I'm working on. I would love to get some footage from the major leagues, but it's so tremendously expensive. You have to pay licensing fees.
What's the nearest team for us in Durham would be? You have to go to
the Durham Bulls, but their parent company is
this minor leagues.
I know, but all the minor leagues are controlled by major leagues. They are.
So you still need to get permission from Tampa Bay.
You don't have to get permission. You have to pay the NFL. NBA. Yes, you cannot. Their
material. Major League Baseball. You have to pay.
It's called license.
I thought for documentaries everything was
no. Free. You see the thing that says this is licensing exclusive to Major League Baseball. This is license exclusive. Yeah, and they mean that. That's why they're rich.
Because it's not a commercial thing.
That's why they're rich. They don't give anything away.
So
I might not have any of that or much. It depends on how much money I can get and how much negotiations I can. So
now college baseball is going on right now.
But the colleges are just as protective of the athletes and their brand and their things are licensed as well.
Little League.
Well, that could. Then you have to solve issue of parents and release forms, and parents. And so I'm working on that piece right now. It's pretty.
So what else is it you want? What else do you want to film?
Again, just primarily the view of people doing these kinds of things that I've talked about, and then I have to work with the film editor to help me. You always need another eye to look at what you're doing, to have someone who's a little more detached.
So when it comes to editing, does that mean deciding what goes, what stays?
I kind of know what I want to do or say, but it's good to have a sounding board, and it's good to have someone who is really good at manipulating the software. I use Adobe Premiere, and it can do a lot more than I can do. So someone
is that called linear or non-linear editing?
Mine is linear.
Linear editing, because you're using tape.
Well, I record on tape, but it is transformed and digitally captured. So and then the editing is all digital. But so everything has to be.
Now somebody told me it takes as long to edit as it does to film. Is that true?
It could take more so because you have to throw out. I mean, there's so much term on the cutting room floor.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to decide, what do I keep, what do I stay,
Wow.
what fits, what doesn't. So it can take as long or longer to edit.
So when you edit something out, is it gone forever, or do you keep it just in case?
You can keep it. Most people will log it, so the original versions are still living somewhere on their computer hard drives.
Okay.
And a lot of people are storing things in the cloud. I haven't done that yet, but it would be a good backup.
We could save a lot of space, I guess, if you save it in the cloud.
And then it's always good should something, the computer crashes or there's a tornado that comes through and wipes out everything, so yeah.
See, another reason I was asking was because Oscar Michaud, I think he was the first Black famous film director. He put together, unfortunately, he tore up his own films, because back then, I don't think they used a lot of negatives, and I don't think he really cared enough about his films to really preserve them the way other people did. And it could be also that he might have been on a severe budget, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he would take old movies and slice them up and use parts of old films to use in his next film.
I did not know that.
And so that's what I was wondering. And then he would edit things out and then go back and take things that he had cut out and put it in another movie.
Oh, interesting.
It's very economical.
That is economical.
But very frustrating to historians, because a lot of this stuff, it doesn't really exist in its original form. He didn't.
But and again, because literally they were cutting tape.
I think that's what he was doing.
Well, they did. I know. When I was first studying, I studied radio, television in college as well, and that was before digital editing. And you were physically cutting tape with a razor blade.
And he probably didn't realize that he was going to grow up to become a historical figure.
Yeah.
So you are logging your things, your film. What's the word? Footage.
Yes.
So you don't throw anything away.
No.
So do you think after you make your documentary that you can make a small one, like a teaser?
Well, you have to make trailers, so that is something that you have to do. To in the movie theaters, they show you those little bits before coming soon.
Yeah.
So you
hope that they're showing something that you will be seeing later.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people complain, I didn't see
it may not
what was in the trailer in the movie.
That's true, and that does happen.
So when you're done with Artistry and Athletics, is your goal to get it on television, or
most of us
are in Durham, a documentary?
Full frame film.
Yeah.
So
full frame
a lot
documentary
of people will audition for film festivals. Independents usually have to do the film festival route before they can get picked up, if they get picked up. And sometimes
when you say picked up for what?
By major distribution, either TV or movies or some other things. So
is that what you want?
I don't know. Sometimes people want you to change things, and just kind of depends on what you do.
Like that. Because if it's done, it's done, right?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, because you still have all that stuff, and you can still edit and cut, and so, So
who would be asking you to change things?
Some of the distributors. I mean, this is the most extreme example, but like they're talking about. I can't remember the movie that went into China. It was some action-packed film, but in the movie they showed Chinese army attacking some people. Well, they want to get this market in China. They don't want that, so you have to take that out.
Okay.
Or like if you want to go to Korea and you can't show, and so some distributors, for whatever reasons, there are things that they don't want.
I have a really good example. There's a movie called Hooray for Hollywood. I think that's the name. No, Hooray for Love.
Okay.
One of my favorite movies. The actual movie is bad, but the reason I like it is because there is a black movie within the white movie, if you want to call it that. Back in the 1940s or whatever, 30s, 40s, they would make these movies and then insert a black entertainment feature that was filmed totally separate. And the Hooray for Love insert is my favorite. It's got like Bill Bojangles Robinson, Fats Waller.
Oh, wow.
It's fabulous. But the reason why it's done separately is because when Hooray for Love, which is about a white film company, not film, playwrights, stage
theater company.
The theater, thank you. They're putting on a play, okay, but the play is the black insert.
Oh.
But when they want to show Hooray for Love in the South back in those days,
exactly,
they could neatly remove
mm-hmm.
the black insert and run the movie and it still works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, so I can see what you mean by wanting to please the distributors.
Yes.
So that's the only way they could get the movies shown in the South, is
right.
to remove the little black inserts. And that happened probably in a bunch of movies.
Oh, sure.
Sure. So even today, you'd want not to do something that drastic, but that you would want to not, I guess, offend the sensibilities of certain groups in order to get the
I'm just thinking about
documentary
the general principle of maintaining editorial control, and it may or may not have to do with certain groups. You know, the other things that we'll touch on to some degree is the perception of ballet, specifically as guys being gay. I mean, because there's a lot of position, and because they wear those tights and dance around there, it's not any kind of undertaking, and there are some people who still have that connotation. So we talk about that.
Some athletes are now coming out as gay.
That is very new, but yes, that is happening.
I don't know. I didn't think it was still that important. I mean,
it is. So a lot of people fight about look at the fights we have here in North Carolina, a lot of states about marriage equality and about other things you can and cannot have rules. It's important to a lot of people.
Okay. So when it comes to getting distribution, you're kind of hesitating.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where it will go. You just can't be sure.
Well, what's your idea?
Well, I'd love to get
your dream.
I would love to have some kind of mass distribution, and I don't really care what vehicle that would be. You just want people to see your work.
Actually, with it being both ballet and sports, it could be shown on so many different stations
exactly.
or channels, rather.
Exactly.
Now, do you know anything about Roku?
I've heard the term, but I don't know it.
Roku is now, I don't want to sound like I know everything. I just know a little. I just happened to have gotten rid of my cable TV 2 years ago.
Okay.
And elected to get Roku. So you pay a few, in my case, $50 because I have one of those big fat TVs. If you have one of those slim new TVs, I think the Roku unit might be $100. You hook it up to your TV. You have to have Wi-Fi in your house though for it to work.
Okay. So
you have Wi-Fi. So you hook it up. Then you go to the store online and you choose the channels that you want. You can choose CNN. You can choose, I think ESPN is on. I don't watch sports anymore, but there's all these different channels you can choose. Of course, Hulu and Netflix, so you can watch a lot of your favorite shows and movies. But there are a lot of independent channels.
Oh, really?
There are regular folks with their own channels on Roku. And the way it works is just like YouTube, where you watch a little commercial. That's how they make their money.
Sure.
And so we have like just regular people, I mean, like you and me, that own their own Roku channels.
Oh, no,
and so you can, and there are certain Roku channels that have a lot of independent movies. And I can't think of the name of it, but I stumbled across a Roku channel that had a lot of Black independent movies. Some of them that were as short as like 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 15 minutes. And some of them were like really like punches to the gut, just looking at life from this unflinching, serious documentaries. And then some are funny. I've stumbled across documentaries that made in Turkey by all these different. Roku is amazing because you can take your remote and just travel all around the place and see things that you will never see on regular cable, which is why I miss cable.
It sounds fantastic.
So actually, you could get Artistry and Athletics. You can probably get it because another thing about Roku, and I think there are similar. There's I think Google has something. I think Apple has something that's similar. Okay. But I only know about Roku because that's what I have. But you can see a lot of the same movies and documentaries on different channels. So that means that the distributor, producer, director, I don't know.
Distributor.
Okay. Has had the wherewithal to contact these different channels and say,
so that's that's the producer. So, yeah.
So you can do that. And people can watch Artistry and Athletics, probably on Roku.
And let me tell you also, that is Indiegogo page that I mentioned, but I also have a film page, which is at Artistry artistryandathletics.com.
Okay.
And it talks a bit more about the people in the film.
Mhm.
And I'm doing a blog there that I think is pretty interesting.
Okay. Okay.
And there are some more background on the film. So
Mhm.
so
how long is it going to be, or do you even know?
I really don't know
This
yet.
is your first, right?
This is my first effort, so I'm trying to learn the process in
Mhm.
addition to doing the work. So it'll be a while, but it's gonna come.
Do you have a mentor, or you just? I don't want to use words like winging it, because you
not
did take
exactly
classes.
winging it, because I've done classes. I've studied documentaries for a
Mhm.
while, and I've done reporting for a while. So
Mhm.
you know, I have some level of comfort with professional storytelling.
Mhm.
So
I
I'm
can't wait
working on
to
it.
see it.
I can't wait for it to be done. It's gonna be wonderful.
Now, the Indiegogo campaign is to help you do what?
To help me get a film editor primarily,
Okay.
and also to help possibly with trying to acquire some of the professional sports footage that I need, because it's all licensed.
Right. Okay. Okay. Do you think you would settle for footage that's already been taken? Is that possible? You know what I mean? Documentary footage that might exist somewhere. Like if you say, I'd like to get some footage of Gail Sayers running a touchdown for the
One of the problems with older footage is that it's not it's tape, it's not digital, and so you really would not look as good. And I'm not sure that it has been kept. I mean, I can find very little footage of Lynn Swann hit this one great catch, and you see a lot on YouTube.
A long time ago?
Lynn Swann was like 80s. You know, but it's still, the technology was very different. So I'm not sure about either the availability. And again, if you have to go to the NFL, it still would have been on the NFL license. Okay,
but let me ask you this. Okay, so are you looking for certain particular, like you want to show somebody some particular guy scoring a touchdown, or would it be cheaper for you to say, may I just have some footage, third inning from the Minnesota Twins? I'll take anything.
No, I won't take anything.
You know what I mean?
What I mean
save
is,
money.
I'm looking for footage that fits the topic. So I want athletes who are looking artistic in what they're doing.
Oh,
you see.
So it's not like you wouldn't accept random.
No.
Footage. No. Okay. What is that guy? When I was a kid, Earl the Pearl Monroe. He was very artistic.
Yes.
With his.
Yes, he was.
He was the first. In fact, his nickname was Vert for a while.
I don't remember.
Oh, he's purling.
Okay.
When a guy was dribbling and all that fancy stuff, they said, "Oh, he's purling."
Yeah.
Now, although that was a long time ago, I guess, would it really hurt if the footage is not of the same?
No, it would be okay. I mean, because people would understand.
To me, I don't know if he was the first. I'm not the big sports expert, but when I was a kid, he was I guess.
And he played for who?
Earl Monroe.
I remember his name. He was not with my teams, so I can't remember.
I don't know, because I grew up in Chicago. He definitely wasn't with the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was with Philadelphia.
Some of those sports fans out there will know.
Somebody knows, because he was like.
He was icon. He would be the level of player that I would be looking for.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think you would get the footage without paying for it. And again, I don't know.
And if you tried to get Michael Jordan footage, I think that would cost a lot.
Probably. Well, the NBA has certain fees for certain amounts. I mean, I think it's like, what is it? I can't remember. $4,000 or $5,000 a minute or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why I said that. No
wonder you better go to their Indiegogo campaign and help her out, because wow.
So, but you really necessarily wouldn't even need a whole minute.
Wait, does it have to be, can it be soccer?
It could be anything. I don't only want basketball and football, but I do like it, because Sean Skipper specifically refers to soccer. But again, it's a professional league. And he talks about Lionel Messi, who is this really great soccer player. And he plays for Italy. He used to be with Argentina, but I don't think he's with them anymore. He was with Barcelona, I think, then Argentina. He was really amazing. But he talks about
Ballet is the one I know.
How he uses his feet and how he and again, that control that he has of his body and the ball, and he refers to artistic, that is. That's something Johnson. So no, it does not have to be those things.
Pele was the first to do the bicycle kick. So maybe we can get some of their footage.
That would be good.
Because maybe footage from Brazil would be a little cheaper.
Then you'd have to go to, I'm not even sure where to go. I mean, I know For example, I've talked with the U.S. Olympic Committee because there's some great moments in Olympic sports.
Okay.
But
it doesn't have to be team sports, right? You can show tennis.
Yeah.
Soccer,
baseball, gymnastics, which is artistic and athletic. Yeah. So there are a whole range of things that this is appropriate for.
Okay. I wish you luck with that.
Great.
Now, if people want to follow you, and do you have like little snippets of film on your Facebook page or anything like that?
There is, just on the Indiegogo page and on the film page. Okay. That's where the film is.
And I take it it's called Artistry and Athletics. Am I not right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay, folks, so be sure to go to Indiegogo. So what do you do? Just type indiegogo.com and then Artistry and Athletics?
What you would do is probably just Google Indiegogo film, because Indiegogo addresses a whole world of different topics. Okay. So you would type Indiegogo film, and then this whole box will come up with all these different films you would click on. But it'll be simply to type up in the right artistry and film, artistry and athletics.
I'm putting you on the spot because we didn't discuss this before you came on, but I have to ask, since I know a little bit about crowdfunding, what are some of your perks with Indiegogo? Because I know they give away really cool perks.
Well, I have a number of recipes that I think would be healthy and useful. I have water bottle, which I think would be good.
Okay.
I'm working on a poster. I have a graphic artist who's working on a poster for me now. Nice. There's possibly of a duffel bag. Again, I try to think of things that fit the topic. Okay. So I have like a category that's a solo, and I can't remember which perk goes with which category, but I have one that's the quarter ballet, and have a soloist, and have starting fives.
I have an idea for a perk. Where the person read at the end of the movie some of the credits.
I don't know, because
thanks to so and so for, you know what I mean?
I do.
Because you have to think, like, if you do get some footage from Major League Baseball, you could allow someone who gives you maybe $1,000 or maybe $500, whatever, the ability to record that part of the credits where it says, "We'd like to thank Major League Baseball for their footage of so and so and so and so."
It's just that norms are not read.
I know, but I'm
not sure about
creative here.
I'm not sure about how that would work. Actually,
it's off the wall. I'm just throwing ideas.
It's a good idea, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure about distributing. Yeah, that's a possibility. So,
and with that, thank you, Fay Mitchell, being on the show. Be sure to go to Indiegogo, check out Artistry and Athletics. And you did say you're on Facebook as well, right?
Yes, I have a Facebook page for Artistry and Athletics as well.
Okay.
So maybe I should put the trailer there too.
You should. I should do that. Of course. And I'm going to go and check it out myself.
Okay.
That's the show, folks. Now, if you would like to be on TV Skywriter, I'm not limited to people here in Durham. It just so happens that Faye had to come to the house because sometimes we don't have that her job's not allowed, but the Google Plus app and all that stuff, that happens sometimes. So anyway, not restricted to Durham. I've talked to people as far away as London, England. Well, England, not London, but England. I interviewed someone in Toronto. That was fun. All over the country, Florida, my hometown, Chicago, New York, California. So if you've written a book, or you have an interesting business, or you just have something really cool to talk about, write to me, Durham Skywriter @gmail.com. If you'd like to see what an all-positive community paper looks like, check out DurhamSkywriter.com. I do that for our city here, the Bull City, Durham, North Carolina. With that, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you later. Thanks again, Faye.
Thank you.
See you later. Ciao.